What is your name and what do you want to tell us about this?
Well, my name is Ilse Jakobowitz. I'm from Chile and I have lived here in Salt Lake City since 1970. And I was lucky enough to find some people who were teaching Touch for Health. I got interested because this was so funny how it started. A patient was on a IV drip for her lung breathing, and it's called aminophylline, and that will give a kind of an upset stomach. So another nurse said, "Why don't you trace the stomach meridian?" I thought, "What? Stomach meridian?" She says, "Just go like this and touch the toes." I did, and her discomfort went away.
Wow.
So she got out of her bed, went to the end of the hallway, hauling her oxygen tank and pushing the IV pole. Pretty soon I saw that she was trying to lit a cigarette. At that point I said, I have to learn what I did here. That is too good to be true. That was in 1990, I guess. So with the next occasion, the Touch for Health had a conference in San Diego, and there was another nurse, and we decided as a group to write a manual. So from there on, I started to use this method called Touch for Health almost every day with my patients, from stomach pain to headaches to any discomfort, or if a patient had been in bed for too long and we got that patient out of bed, we rubbed some points on the feet to give a better balance and steadiness on the feet. Even with patients after surgery, it was pretty amazing. They would go home after open heart surgery for a few days and come back with this crummy feeling in the stomach. I traced the meridians or other points called neurolymphatic or neurovascular. The patient was okay in a matter of 5 minutes, ready to go home, and the doctors were ready to start a lot of testing to find out why they had abdominal pain. And that happened many times. So I was extremely happy, and I rewrote the book. I translated the book into Spanish and taught some classes in Chile, in South America. And the nurses there were absolutely happy. They said, "We want more." So that is what I would like to offer to the nurses here, that they learn some method like energy in your hands that they can apply with the patients. It doesn't take long, because to take away a headache, you just put your hands like that, for instance, for 1 minute, and the pain is gone, instead of giving a shot or a pill or whatever. Though I better not say it. That is easier, shorter than going to the cabinet and taking the medication out. At least that was my experience during the 11 years as a nurse in Salt Lake City I used in the hospital. And the other nurses knew about it, so they always called me and changed patients on me every day so that other patients would have the benefit too. It was fun. It
Oh, yeah.
absolutely was fun. And nowadays, like last year, I went to a gathering at some friend's place, and one of the ladies said to me, "You are a nurse, right?" I said, "Yeah." "I remember you. You did some stuff with
Oh,
me.
my goodness.
I don't know what it was, but the pain was gone in a minute."
Mm-hmm. Well,
So,
I'm a nurse also, Ilse, and I really appreciate what you've done here with this book to teach hands-on techniques for people in the hospital, because I also have had an opportunity to do some things, like with my mother when she was in the hospital, and
Yeah.
the first time they were getting her up to walk, she was having a problem, so I had her sit down and I did a quick 14 muscle balance on her, and she got up and walked all the way down the hall and back so much more easily, and her breathing was so much better. And I've used it for pain techniques for people to relieve them of pain, so I am just very impressed with what you've done here and what you're offering.
the fun thing is, it's not only balancing for pain,
Mhm.
but it's the whole system.
Right.
Because then the body can fight any situation
Right.
much faster and easier.
Right. Let me tell you one story. Before I even got into
Yeah.
Touch for Health, I was working with stroke patients in the hospital.
Yeah.
I was giving them manicures and pedicures because I thought it would be like giving them a new body image and giving them a feeling of
Right.
importance. And when I would be working with the cuticles at the nail bed bases and on the feet, they'd go into this really deep breathing and going into a deep sleep. And 2 to 3 weeks later, when they were up and they were feeding themselves, their hand-eye coordination was so much better than the patients I had not worked on. And then I got into Touch for Health and found out that the meridian pathways begin and end at the nail bed bases.
Oh, yeah.
So I was activating a whole healing system early on, and so the body was starting to heal itself
Yeah.
rather than waiting until they come out of the so-called coma, and by then atrophy has set in.
Right.
So it's very impressive to use these techniques.
I, for instance, have patients who could not go to sleep
Yes.
because of the circadian rhythm. I did whatever was necessary at that point, and they would fall asleep. For stress, for instance, that is so important. Oh, one patient that I received came from the doctor's office across the street to our floor just an hour before open heart surgery. Imagine the stress this gentleman had. He was about 50 years old. So I asked if he would let me work on him for a little bit, and I only did the stress release points. I walked him through the whole process from the moment he would go to the surgery room, and then during the surgery, not explaining exactly what they did, but then in intensive care, semi-intensive care, and coming back to our floor. When they came back, a patient and his wife, the wife gave me a hug and said, "I don't know how we could have done it without your help." Simple. Didn't take me long at all. So it was countless times in that fashion. I gave the title to this booklet, "Share the Light." it happens, and I learned from another friend. He gave me a flyer. A German physicist was intrigued. He wanted to know where the light was coming from. Where does it emanate? So for about 10 years, he studied and came up with the information that in our DNA is a little particle that is like a light. It's shining. And that gets fed by plant food because it receives the sunlight. Isn't that amazing?
Yes.
I love that idea,
Yes.
and that's why I thought I need to put that title on my manual.
That's beautiful. And you had mentioned something about, so we need to eat organic because that food is healthy. It's not contaminated with the pesticides
There
and
is
everything.
so much more that we learn through Touch for Health and this manual besides what we learn in the medical field.
Yeah.
We see the body as a total unit, and it's wonderful, it's marvelous. I appreciate that so much from the moment I learned Touch for Health. I just want to tell you that this method is totally simple, easy to learn, and brings you so much happiness and pleasure. And doctors and nurses and patients mainly will be happy about the result. No shot, no IV, and you can walk better. Oh, one lady had a hysterectomy, and that was pretty bad, for a woman to go through that process. When she came to our floor, she was asking for morphine every 4 hours for pain, quote unquote, okay? I worked with her around 7 p.m. and the other nurses knew about it. She slept through the night, no shots. The next morning, I told the nurses again, please don't give her a shot until it's really necessary. Well, the patient got up, walked around, and another nurse taking care of her said, oh, you need to walk, so why don't I give you a shot? Are you having pain? And she says, no, I don't have pain. So that is a play between the patient and nurse that is so common. We probably have to learn to block our intention of the shot and see what the body can do.
Right.
She was so happy about the result that her niece took the Touch for Health class.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Oh.
So, Carol, that is what I wanted to tell you.
Well, thank you so much. You are such a blessing. And what
Thank
you
you.
have done is so beautiful, and I know that the patients and families that you have worked with are so grateful and so blessed for all that you have done and continue to do. Thank you for sharing that.
Oh, you're so welcome. So welcome, because it pays back,
Yes,
you know.
I know. I do.